Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues. With this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 9 of the anime series, Hitsugi no Chaika. And this was yet again another well-crafted, well-written episode that just had me on the edge of my seat. I was absolutely compelled. I'm loving this, delving more and more into the personalities and the characters that make up Gillette's group. You know, from learning that Leo is a demi-human who was, I guess you could say, kind of converted to a side of good, or at least a side of productivity, by Gillette. And of course, all of them are concerned with Gillette's noticeable change in demeanor ever since encountering Chaika. And they're all speculating probably along the same lines as we, the viewer, that he may be finding, some sort of infatuation or obsession with Chaika that is making him question what he believes to be true justice and all these kinds of things. He seemed to be very sympathetic to the, sort of bum who's trying to steal a noblewoman's wallet. And it's just interesting that Gillette's having somewhat of a potential change of heart where he may be, someone who allies himself with Chaika and her party. Apart from this, of course, we have the ongoing, as yet unrequited love of Vivi, and I'm really championing the idea of her getting with Gillette and everything like that. But of course, toward the end of this episode, we find that this Gavarni, who has taken this flying fortress Sawada and is now controlling it in his region, or at least the region he commands, it's something that has now been brought to Gillette's party's attention. They are being called in to try to sneak in and maybe get this thing back a la Metal Gear Solid. And it's interesting to me that they're actually sending in, of all people, Vivi and Zeta, the two, most prominent females in Gillette's group. And, of course, Gillette warns Vivi very sort of tellingly, perhaps, that she should not overdo it. And that really sent up a red flag to me, like, oh boy, we're going to see Vivi get killed or injured or something, potentially, and that might, affect an opposite change, a 180-degree turn from where Gillette is headed now, where he may be sympathizing more toward Chaika and her group, and, maybe he'll have a change of heart back toward the opposite end of the spectrum, or perhaps he'll have an even further sort of relating to them and feeling sympathetic toward them if it turns out that this Gavarni is one of these governmental thugs who's going to use this flying fortress for whatever means, he sees fit to use it for, and it turns out that Vivi's life is taken, and, basically Gillette starts questioning the organizations that he is working for and that kind of thing. It could be very interesting, whichever direction the story goes along those lines. Of course, we basically are following Chaika, Toru, and Nakari, who are almost out of their magic fuel, and they basically need to restock, replenish. We are learning more about Chaika and the fact that, her memories can be used as a form of fuel. She cannot command what memories are used, but this may explain why she seems to not have many memories before the war, and of course it added to the speculation that maybe all of these multiple Chaikas were split up from an origin Chaika, and so there would be spotty memory and everything like that, but this is lending itself more toward a maybe cloning or manufactured version of Chaika, where maybe they start off with a certain amount of memories, maybe the collective of memories from whatever source they're created from, and over time, over the course of their journey, maybe they are losing them if they have to utilize them to keep their journeys going and these kind of things. And it's very interesting, of course, when you align it with the fact that, as was revealed in the previous episode, which I only considered really a footnote, that being, of course, that Arthur Gaz was the inventor of all of these mechanisms and all of these ways of utilizing this magic fuel, the vehicles, the weapons. If he's the inventor of that, and, of course, Chaika and the many Chaikas may or may not be related to him, that brings up a lot of questions as far as what was the purpose, Did maybe Arthur Gaz even see his own demise coming? Was this a means by which he figured he would plan ahead of time to be able to resurrect himself through magic or whatever you want to call it? It's very intriguing, just adding that much more depth to, of course, Chaika herself, who is absolutely adorable when she's completely, extremely brought down by the fact that they can't go around to this sort of, festival that's going on, the end of war anniversary festival, and, basically it's her and Toru and Akari going around looking for this fuel. They're basically coming up empty-handed every single place they go to, but they're led through, various means to finally finding a store. Akari decides to go back to their carriage at that point to make sure that Frederica isn't getting up to trouble and everything. So they add a lot of poignancy to the relationship between Toru and Chaika, respectively, as they're waiting for this old man in this final store that they've gone to fill their weapons and everything like that, give them boxes of this magic fuel. Essentially, they're talking about memories. It is a poignant thing of note in this episode, being that Chaika has revealed the importance of her particular memories and the loss of them, how they can be utilized. So, of course, it's something foremost on her mind, and she gets to asking Toru about bad memories as opposed to good memories, because we had this great storytelling sequence as well, flashing back on Toru's history with his master and training as a saboteur, and his master didn't have any faith in him and all this kind of stuff. And I wonder if that's going to, come to fruition at some point down the line. Maybe he will encounter his master again. Perhaps that is the silhouetted saboteur Seeming who killed the guard the Six Nations sent in, trying to get back to Sowara, this flying fortress. But, I love how basically Toru tells this story of what may have been sort of a first love. I mean, I think Chaika really got it on the money, and of course Toru denies it entirely. This woman Hasumen, who he was really trying to impress and gain the good graces of. And so when we find out that she is murdered essentially by bandits, and Toru ended up finding her in her last moments of life, basically this is something that was life-altering for Toru. And that's interesting because he considers it something he wishes he could let go of. He considers it something he wishes he could abolish from his mind. And yet very perceptively, Chaika has noted it's the pain that you have derived from that situation that has fueled your progress forward and, made you integral to helping me and saving my life. And that's exactly what I would have told Toru if I was sitting there with him. So, again, the dynamic between these characters is that much more thickened and expressive, and I love it. I just am drawn into the world that this story is taking place in and the relationships of these characters. And I have to note as a footnote, before I forget, I absolutely loved the sort of playful banter going on between Akari and Toru when they're telling their story about all of this. Most specifically, when he basically relates that his master used to call her stubborn, and she's like, "Oh, don't praise me, you only get me to blush." And then, of course, they start splashing each other, and she accuses him of trying to see through her clothes. And so that's absolutely hilarious. And, of course, everything is basically left off with this final guy. Intriguingly, because I've been noting, we're getting this information about this Gavarni and his stealing of the Flying Fortress for a reason, and it comes to a head by the end of this episode because this old guy imparts to Toru and Chaika that this guy is in possession of relics of Arthur Gaz, and that they are powerful, and that in his domain he has all these caves where magic fuel can be, brought out of and everything like that, and refined. And it's just, the intriguing levels of this series just ramped up tenfold with that revelation, because of course Chaika, Toru, and Akari, they will be heading there now. So, I mean, every single step of the way this series is just getting that much better and drawing me in more and more and more and exciting me. And I can't wait to see what happens next. And yeah, so that'll be pretty much it for me on this. I hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace.